We're all told from a young age that we should be happy, that we should pursue happiness, that we should aim for happiness. And then when we grow up, we realize something. We realize that there is no such thing as happiness. Not really. Sure, you might feel happy for a bit. You can feel pleasure for a moment, but it's fleeting. It's temporary. It doesn't last. And what we are actually doing when we are pursuing happiness is we are numbing ourselves. We're trying to numb the pain, the discomfort, the anxiety, the insecurity, the fear of being alone, the fear of death, the fear of not being enough. So what are we really after? What we're really after is not happiness. What we really want to be is numb. We want to be numb to all of that stuff. And how do we do that? Well, we've been doing it for a very long time with drugs and alcohol. But there's other ways. You know, sex can numb us. Porn can numb us. Video games can numb us. Social media can numb us. Junk food can numb us. Comfort in general can numb us. The problem is that when we use these things to numb ourselves, they become crutches. They become things that we rely on. And then when we try to get off of them, when we try to stop using these things to numb ourselves, we go through withdrawal. We go through this horrible, horrible period where we just feel like crap. We might even feel worse than if we were using these things to numb ourselves. So what do? We go back to the things that numb us. We go back to the drugs or the alcohol or the sex or the junk food or whatever else because we don't want to feel that withdrawal. We don't want to feel that pain. And so we keep going back to the things that numb us. It becomes this horrible cycle that's very difficult to break. But why do we do this? Why do we go to these things that numb us? Well, because we're scared. We're scared to feel the pain, the discomfort, the anxiety, the fear, the insecurity. We're scared to feel those things. And so we would rather be numb. We would rather have our minds and our hearts and our souls being filled with crap than to feel that pain. And it's not just people who are like this. I mean, people are like this, sure, but it's also corporations. Corporations are like this. Governments are like this. Society is like this. They would rather be numb. They would rather fill their minds and their hearts and their souls with crap than to face the pain. How many times have you seen a corporation or a government or society ignore a problem, pretend like it's not there, kick the can down the road, hoping that it'll just go away? How many times have you seen that happen? How many times have you heard me talk about a corporation or a government or society ignoring a problem, pretending like it's not there? Kicking the can down the road, hoping that it'll just go away? I mean, we see this all the time, right? Like with climate change, for example, we've known about climate change for decades now. We've known that it's a problem. And instead of facing it, instead of dealing with it, instead of doing something about it, what have we done? We've just kicked the can down the road. We've just pretended like it's not there, hoping that it will go away. And that's what we're doing with all sorts of problems. And it's easy to understand why we do this. It's easy to understand why corporations do this. It's easy to understand why governments do this. It's easy to understand why society does this. Because it's easier to be numb than to feel the pain. It's easier to pretend like a problem's not there than to deal with it. It's easier to ignore the problem than to solve it. It's easier to kick the can down the road than to face the music. But the problem is that when we do this, when we ignore the problems, when we pretend like they're not there, when we kick the can down the road hoping that they'll just go away, they come back to bite us. The problems come back to bite us. Sooner or later, we have to face the music. Sooner or later, we have to deal with the problems. Sooner or later, we have to pay the piper. And when we do, when we finally have to face the music, we finally have to deal with the problems, when we finally have to pay the piper, it's much, much worse than if we had just dealt with it in the first place. This is why I think that we are living in such dark times right now, because we have ignored the problems. We have pretended like they're not there. We have kicked the can down the road, hoping that they'll just go away, and they came back to bite us. They came back to bite us big time.